some of the challenges that you faced would have literally killed people.
Yeah,
it would have shut them down. They would have quit. They would have retreated home and been miserable for the rest of their life. And it's almost like you just take on each challenge with like, all right, I see you. Bring it on. I can't wait to figure out what's on the other side of it.
Literally almost died 3 years ago.
Okay,
talking about your appendix. Like 2022 is when I got my first movie greenlit, and this day I got my call saying they greenlit my movie. I had a blood clot in my lung.
Oh no!
And so it was like 8 or 9 a.m. I got the phone call. I was like, hey, the movie's a go. Let's do it. I was like, oh my God. I was like excited. And then 8 hours later, I was in the hospital.
Wow.
Like I almost died in the ER. So yeah, I had like a blood clot in my lung. I had like pneumonia. I had like 2 other things going on. Pleurisy, like all this stuff. Because I was already short of breath on the phone call. My producer was like, are you excited? And I was just like, yeah, I'm very excited. Like I was struggling to breathe at that point. So at that point, it had been 4 days that I was struggling to breathe like that. And we signed our contract. My writing partner came up from Atlanta. We signed our contract like in the hospital together.
Wow.
And I was just like, all right, well, we got to keep going. It's business as usual. You know what I'm saying? Like I was working from the hospital bed. I had my family bring my laptop and all my stuff. I was there for a few weeks.
Wow.
And like at one point, I was like on the phone, like arguing with my writing partner about something. I guess like my blood pressure went up and like the nurse came in. I was like, what's going on in here? She's like, it sounds like there's a meeting happening in this room. I was like, kind of. I'm working.
That's right.
I got like my phone on my ear. I got my laptop, I'm like typing. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I was like, no, we got to do it this way. And she like peeks in. She's like, is everything okay? And like my blood, like my heart rate's going up and stuff like that. I was like, it's fine. She's like, you should probably get off the phone. You need to lay back and take a minute. Cause at that point, like I couldn't even walk for a few days. Like I was like a fall risk and all that. I was like, I'm not that big, but I was like, I was a fall risk. It was rough, dude. Like it was a rough few weeks. Cause there was one point they were like really they were keeping me alive. It was like an episode of Grey's Anatomy. They were keeping me alive. They were pumping me with all this stuff. And I was like, this might be it.
Wow. This
might be it. Wow. So once I got out.
Did that change you when you went through that?
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Not really at that time.
Yeah.
At that time, I was more annoyed.
Okay. Young people, man, like, I would have been the same way.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, why now? Why not during the summer?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, or some other time when I had nothing going on. Now, later on in life, the gratitude kicked in. I was annoyed then, but the gratitude kicked in. And I was like, because when we wrapped the movie, because I also directed the movie, when we wrapped, like the last day of filming, I cried like a baby because I was like, I could have not been here for this.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Cry like a baby. So the gratitude kicked in. I don't take it for granted now, but that week it happened, I was like, why?
We're just going to say you were focused.
I was just focused. Yeah. I remember when I went to the hospital like that day, I was still working. I was still working on Bel Air at the time. And I was like, I got to go to work. And the doctor was like, you're not going to be going back to work for a while. And I was like, ugh. And I was like, what do I do? I was like, bring my computer to work, to the hospital, please. Like, had all this stuff. It looked like the Matrix in my hospital room. Had all these wires going on. It was crazy, dude.
What is, and I want to get into, I love the fact that you are a director because you got to deal with a whole bunch of stuff from budgets to personnel to people, to scenes and gear, and you're dealing with time of day and lighting, and I mean it's insane. The director is the workhorse of a movie set, right?
Yeah.
So, but before I do that, what's one of the coolest things that like you had that moment where? But so obviously, probably wrapping your first movie was one, but when did you have that moment where you're like, holy cow, how did I get here? What was any cool things that stand out as like some of the coolest memories, like working with a certain person, or you nailed a scene just right? What were some aha moments for you that you can remember?
I'll say this. I've worked with a lot of people who I've watched on television, like sitting at home laughing or whatever. And then they'll walk through the stage door of a show I'm working on. I'm like, it's you. I've had that moment. It's a lot of fun. I think the moment for me was when we did Lethal Legacy, the first movie. They hadn't decided I was going to be the director yet. And leading all the way up to production, no decision had been made. So we hadn't heard from the network. There was no approval given yet. It was just like, am I directing this movie or not? It was the question every week. And my producers were like, let's just move forward as if you are until we hear otherwise. And I said, okay. So I'm doing the prep with them, casting, locations. And then finally, it's the first day of filming. And at this point, we're just like, okay, I guess it's you. So on the first day of filming, we're about to roll the first shot. And I'm getting to the chair and I look around. I was like, so I guess it's me? And my producer's like, yeah, it's you. And I sat down. I was like, let's do this thing. And I think in that moment, I was just like, all those years, it's finally come down to this. Like, I'm sitting and I'm directing my first feature-length movie. And at that point, I was just like, this is what I've worked so hard for. Because 2008 was when I did my first show, like worked on my first production. This was 2022.
Wow.
You know, when we did this movie, those 14 years, I've been waiting to sit in that chair.
Like the overnight success.
Yeah. It's a long night.
Yep.
It was a long night. I'll tell you that. So I think like that was probably, that's the moment that sticks out to me the most, because now every time I sit in the chair, it makes me think about that time.
Yep.
And that's where that gratitude kicks in again. You know, you think about it, you're just like, man, how long I've waited.
That's right.
For these moments. I really try to keep that mindset for every project I work on. Especially because you're working with other people who want to be in that chair as well. And I've worked with directors who weren't pleasant. You know, like you might want to talk to them, ask them questions, and they're not very open and well, which is fine. You know, everyone has their own personality, but I try to be the person that people want to come to and talk to and try to learn from. I don't have much to offer, but I feel like when I've met someone, they tell me what they want to do, even if it's not directing, just something else. I try to make sure I make a point of like talking to them, saying, you need to go talk to this person, or you need to go do this program. Like these are things I've learned over the years. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like much to me, but then when I'm telling someone else, I'm like, oh, yeah, like this is a long time ago I did that. Yeah. Oh, you know, like I'm not new to this.
That's your gift, though, man. It's like, you know, hardly anybody will remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel when you said it, right? And you have that knack for just, again, the nightclub wasn't the same if you weren't there. It was like the whole atmosphere changed. There was hundreds of people in there at a time, and one person could change the whole entire atmosphere.
I'd come in backing that ass up. Just like, I mean, as soon as it came on, here I come, you know? I'll hit that floor. We had such a good time, man.
I'm telling you.
We had such a good time.
And it was such, looking back, if the place had been nice, it wouldn't have been the same. Like, it was such a hole in the wall. You know what I mean?
But you would have never known.
Nope.
You know, as long as the people were there, you would have never known.
Well, it was always busy and full, so it was hard to see anything.
That's it. And as long as it was dark,
we kept it nice and dark.
As long as the lights are going, that's all I needed.
Oh yeah.
Give me a fishbowl. I need a fishbowl.
Man, I'm telling you, I
need a fishbowl. Right?
People still ask me about those.
I remember the first one. I was like, "What is in this?"
it was so the fishbowl at Decades was a literal like plastic fishbowl like that you would buy for your kid for their first goldfish.
Yep.
And it was Kool-Aid and pure grain alcohol.
That's it.
That's what
was
it was.
Everclear?
It was a lot of it. Yep. It was a lot of it. So it was either it made your night the greatest night ever, or it was puke juice.
Yeah.
It was one or the other. And a lot of people had those fish bowls.
You know, yeah.
They were delicious, though. They were so good.
Yeah, that was one of them. Man.
Oh, yeah.
Now, thankfully I didn't puke.
No, you were pro.
I hold myself together.
That's right.
I was the designated driver. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
You know, like, when you're one of those guys that when you get into the room, you just naturally belong. Like when you get in the room that you should be, the room's not too big for you. All of a sudden, you belong there, and that's you got to have a certain level of self-confidence and self-belief to do that, because as the younger Nick, there was rooms that I got in where the room might have been intimidating. When I look back, it's like, dude, I should have owned that room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Brad always says, walk into a room like you own it and leave because you sold it.
Yeah.
You know, that I love that.
It's not something everyone has. And I hate to say these things. I hate to sound cocky when I say these things. You realize over the years, like the abilities you possess.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you said, I can go into a room and I can shake hands and do things. And I hate it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I hate it. Like I hate like people like to, I don't know what it is about me. Like I attract people, children too.
Yeah,
kids love me.
Energy for sure.
Kids love me. I don't know why. Go away. Go over there. But like people, you know, I don't know what it is, and I'll tap into it. But it takes a lot of energy out of, you know, this takes a lot of energy out of you.
It does.
You know, when you're in a room, like, you know, you'll be in an event with a few hundred people and you're trying to, and then you get in the car. I'm literally just like,
yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm like laid out. You know what I mean? So I don't, and like preparing to go out and do it. It takes a lot out of you.
Well, that was, you know, that's how I ended up in the DJ booth. Is I'm naturally an introvert. The big room of crowd of people, I always hated that. In the DJ booth, I had a barrier, right? And it was, and then you put the love of music and the fact that I could like direct traffic and drive revenue from up there. It changed everything, and that was why I wanted to be in there the most, right? So I was fascinated with that as the puppet master. But the biggest thing was it kept me away from the people.
Yeah, except me.
That's right. Well, there's some people had a green light to come in and hang.
I found my way up.
That's right.
I'd either be peeking up from the window or I'd be trying to come in through the door. But y'all try to be careful about that too, because I don't want someone else to see me doing it and they think they can do it.
That's right.
I'm like, no. Sorry, honey. This is. I'm VIP.
That's right. Yes,
I'm
you
VIP.
were.
You stay down there.
Yes, you were.
But see, even then, our relationship took a while to develop because like I was just the guy who was coming on Saturday nights, drunk and twerking, and I'm out the door. Then I became a regular.
Yep.
You know. Then I even like did security for you once or twice.
That's right.
You know. So, you know, but it took time.
Oh,
it wasn't something that just happened overnight.
That's right.
You know, it was like, oh, there's Joe, there's the guy. You know, and I think for me, it's like I was working. What years were those? I think I was still in school. I was still working retail, but like you said, we were happy then.
Oh yeah.
And when you're happy, you want to like protect your happiness. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I love Decades so much, and I love the people who are there. So it's like, I feel like I had to be there because I'm like, if I'm not there, like then other people may not come, or you know what I'm saying? Like I got to make sure they have a good night. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to make sure that you guys had a good night too. It wasn't just about me coming in. It was about make sure you guys had a good night too. Because I love that place so much, man. You know what I'm saying? It was very loved. It was very loved. But I think like us as humans, we want to protect our happiness and our peace.
Facts.
You know, like that was our happiness and peace back then.
Man, that's so powerful, dude. Because that's, if you think about why people aren't happy and why they're struggling, it's literally just what you just said.
Yeah.